Could we finally get answers as to what happened to poor Celeste Rivas Hernandez? Could we get answers back from the medical examiner's office this week as it relates to cause and manner of death? Maybe. I'm going to tell you why this could be entirely possible. But first, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. I'm Lauren Conlin from Los Angeles Magazine, and this is your daily pop culture scandals and crime news. Celeste Rivas Hernandez, I have done quite a few videos on her and done some extensive investigative research on her sad death at the age of 14, found in the frunk of singer David's Tesla on September 8th. She was later identified a few weeks later as Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and there have been many links to David and Celeste, not only from internet sleuths, but also her mother and her brother told LAPD that their daughter and their sister was dating someone named David. I will get to some of those links in a minute, but first, I want to pull up something that Steve Fisher said, and he is the private investigator that was hired by the Hollywood Hills homeowner. David occupied this home. This Hollywood Hills homeowner tapped Steve to do some digging for him because he just felt like, this home that I own, this is at the center of the investigation, and LAPD really isn't telling me anything. And that's okay. I'm not trying to hinder the investigation. This homeowner, he knows how it works. So he hired Steve. Steve's been doing some incredible work. You've probably seen him on many different shows. And I do feel for Steve because there is a reason he drops these little Easter eggs. He's trying to get information from the public. He's trying to drop an Easter egg so someone comes forward and says, hey, wait a second, I know XYZ. I understand that it can be confusing when each outlet sort of spins what he says. Oh, sadistic farm tools, sadistic this, sadistic that. My advice is if you watch an interview with Steve, just go off of what Steve says. And of course, this is an open investigation, so things are always changing constantly. So I had looked at the Los Angeles Medical Examiner's Office. Sorry, it's Monday. It's a lot for me to say Los Angeles Medical Examiner's Office. I had looked at that website, and at first, I was very disheartened. The website said, oh, it could take 4 to 6 months to get toxicology reports back. And yeah, that was troubling. I'm thinking, okay, are we not going to see what happened to this poor girl? Is she not going to get justice until well after Christmas? And it was frustrating. But recently on X, Steve Fisher, he posted his own I don't want to say investigation, but he dug through some very recent cases. He tracked some recent LA County Medical Examiner cases where most of these deaths that he was tracking were listed as deferred. And this is Celeste also. So when a case is likely listed as deferred, or when a case is listed as deferred, this is likely because they are pending toxicology results. Because you can't necessarily figure out sometimes if somebody was red rummed or it was possibly a suicide or an overdose. You need more information from a tox screen. So he took these handful of cases and he said they all now have established causes and manners of death through September 1st or 2nd. So he backtracked as to when these cases came through the desk of the LA Medical Examiner's Office. And based on that, he believes that we should see a determination in the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, possibly within the next 10 days. Now, this does not mean that the full autopsy report will be completed by then, but rather just a tox screen. So I think that would necessarily just indicate that we could get an initial classification made, and a cause of death and manner, again, natural, homicide, suicide, accidental, or I think what everybody really doesn't want to see right now is undetermined. If it's undetermined, that will make it very difficult to make an arrest in her death. I don't think it would make it difficult to make an arrest on concealment of a body per se. possible abuse of a corpse. But when it comes to figuring out who exactly is responsible for her death, yeah, that would be tough. So, based on what Steve pulled, I'm thinking that maybe this is the week. I'm really hoping. And I did look back at Matthew Perry's death, and his was around the same. His talk screen was pretty quick. So, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to side with Steve on this and just pray that we get answers this week that helps us get one step closer to finding out what happened to poor Celeste. Now, I also want to share with you a recent article that I did, and it was based on, again, on Steve's findings. And I just want to make clear that I am being very careful with this. Very, very careful. None of this is none of this is conclusive, I would say, but it does make a lot of sense based on what Steve found. So Steve found evidence in the house suggesting that Celeste may have been with David at Six Flags. Again, the LAPD has not confirmed this, but what we know about Celeste, and again, and why does this matter? Why does this matter to everybody? You might be like, okay, cool. She went to Six Flags with David, whatever. Well, I mean, she is a minor, and he is obviously 19 years old, 20 years old. But in the house, PI Steve Fisher, he found a Build-A-Bear certificate, okay? And it had the name Esmeralda on it. And why does that matter? Here's the Build-A-Bear certificate. Let's see. Why does this matter? This is the name, Esmeralda. The date, April 21st, 2024. Esmeralda is also the name of Celeste's cousin. And Esmeralda, she organized the GoFundMe. And also there are pictures of Celeste and Esmeralda on Facebook. They are posing together at Esmeralda's graduation. There have been rumors. These are unfounded rumors that Celeste was staying with Esmeralda at times. So what Steve is trying to point out, number one, David took a picture at Six Flags on April 21st. This is the roller coaster. Also at Six Flags, Steve found a Build-A-Bear stand. So he put this together, and he surmised that Celeste was most likely there because at this point in time, Celeste was reported missing by her family on April 5th, 2024. Now, many people assumed that she ran away and stayed with her cousin, Esmeralda. Now, if what Steve said all makes sense here with David at Six Flags, the Build-A-Bear certificate with Esmeralda, and that actually is Celeste's cousin, then yeah, that would be concerning here, because that would mean that nobody reported to the police that Celeste was found. And not only that, they'd be letting a 13 or 14-year-old just stay with her cousin who, is barely in her 20s. So that's concerning as well. And I think that is what Steve is trying to put forth, is that so many people seem to have failed Celeste if this information is true. I've seen threads on Reddit claiming, no, Esmeralda has never gone to Six Flags. She's only been to Knott's Berry Farm, whatever. Sure. I mean, could it be another Esmeralda? Maybe. But this timeline, it really seems to make sense to me. And I think this also could indicate why a lot of Celeste's family members maybe are not speaking out, but also, they lost their daughter, they lost their cousin, they lost their friend. There are so many reasons. And so I think that, for me, I want to tread carefully on this, but I also want to point certain things out that I find that could be concerning. They really, it could be concerning. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening and tuning in to me every morning. Don't forget, go to lamag.com. Go check out that article. I'll put it back up right here just for a second. But yeah, I think that you'll find it interesting. And again, keep an open mind, and let's say prayers for Celeste Rivas Hernandez and her family, that she gets justice. All right, guys, I'll catch you tomorrow. I'm Lauren Conlin. Thank you for joining me on lamag.com.